Welcome to the 5 Regions of Georgia Technology Integration Project. My name is Caleb Land, and I'm going to walk you through the project. So the big problem that I ran into, and I know some other 8th grade social studies teachers in Georgia have run into, is that there's difficulty teaching all the 5 regions of Georgia geography because it's pretty easy to let your students see the area that you're in the state, and it's also pretty easy maybe to go to one other place, but it's very difficult for anybody to go to all 5 regions of Georgia, especially for those students who come from low-income households. Many of the students that I am teaching on the south side of Atlanta have a difficulty. Many of them have not even been within 30 or 40 miles from their home. So it's really difficult for them to kind of get that understanding of what much of the rest of the state is geographically. So the conceptual solution that we came up with, according to the 4 C's, is to develop a virtual reality project. And I want to walk you through where that can be found in our Utopian Virtual Social Studies lab. So you're going to come to our geography section, and we're still a little bit under construction with this, but in our geography section there's a 5 regions of Georgia activity, and this is the place where we're going to take students, and so I've included a direct link of that for you to go and check out yourself. And ideally, students will engage with this from a mobile phone or from an iPad, from a virtual reality like a Google Cardboard. And so for students, they'll click on this student section first, and it has some instructions for them there. So for them, the objective is based on the Georgia Standards of Excellence for 8th grade. And students are going to be able to locate the 5 regions of Georgia on a map and distinguish between them in terms of climate, agriculture, and economic factors. Okay, and so it's got some directions for the students to follow there. Some directions for using Google Cardboard, some links to that. And so ideally, the students would use Google Cardboard, and it would look something like this. And this is my son looking at one of the tours that I created. And so this is the ideal way to use this virtual reality experience. But if you are not in a one-to-one classroom, or your students don't necessarily have virtual reality, even though Google Cardboard is pretty affordable, maybe they don't have enough smartphones, or that can be a problem. So this is a tour that's available to complete online as well. So I'll show you a little bit in the browser, just because it's kind of difficult for me to show through Google Cardboard. So for instance, any of these regions on this map are interactive, and they click on these to go to their tour. So we'll check out the coastal plain. So they would click on the coastal plain. If they were doing this in a mobile browser, once again, this would be an immersive experience. And it'll take them to various sections in the coastal plain region. So here's Savannah, Georgia. It's going to tell them a little bit about Savannah's climate as they're actually kind of looking at it. Or it'll take them to the Okefenokee Swamp, and it'll talk about some of the physical features of the coastal plain. Take them to one of the barrier islands, and even just the inner coastal plain, so some of the farmland over in Bluffton, Georgia. And so there's you can see hopefully how using the virtual reality, there's embedded pictures, there is information embedded in this, and so students are able to kind of learn without looking at PowerPoint slides, but it's much more kind of an immersive experience for them. And with geography, that's especially helpful. And when we're looking at the 4 C's for creativity, teaching students to think outside the box, well, this is not a typical way of delivering information. It's also not a typical way that we have, which we'll show you in just one second, to assess learning. So if you come back and look at how we assess this, so as students go through all of this, and we have little help desk for them here if they need help with something. But to assess their learning, we have included a couple of different activities for them. So there are 5 steps to demonstrating their knowledge. And the first of those steps is a Padlet, class Padlet that we've developed. And so students will come in and actually, draw Georgia and label the 5 regions in their drawing. But then they're also going to have an opportunity to interact with each other's work, to give 1 to 5 stars based on how well they think their classmates did, to post comments comparing 2 of the different regions, and then also to choose a piece of content that they find online. It could be an article, a PowerPoint, video, picture that helps them to understand. And so by the end of this activity, you'll really have an entire wall full of content with students developing their learning for themselves and interacting with each other's posts. And then finally, that's kind of a formative assessment for them. And then as sort of a summative assessment for this, they'll have a GymKit quiz, and they can take it as many times as they need. So they're able to kind of click here and take it online. And once again, all of this is really flexible for teachers. So teachers are able to do this as sort of an upfront quiz, or they can create their own quiz. They can create their own Padlet. I have included a teacher's guide in here. So if other teachers want to use this guide, they can come in and see exactly what our objectives are. And then they can see the procedures, and there's a couple of different options for them. So there's a self-directed, if they want students to do it on their own, maybe as a homework assignment or something like that. But then there's also a teacher-directed. If your school doesn't have one-to-one capabilities, you're not able to allow them to have VR headsets or things like that. It's really flexible the way students can use this. And then also with teacher resources, we have some tutorials on how to use everything from Google Cardboard, Padlet, any of the different resources we've used in any of this. So it's really kind of a helpful thing here. So we have a help desk for the students, we have student directions, teacher directions, but from the very beginning they're kind of immersed in the experience. And so for students who are kind of advanced and they can just dive right in and use their VR headsets to learn about a lot of this stuff, they can just jump right into it. If they need further instructions or they need some help, then those resources are there, scaffolding the assignment for them to help them out. So this includes collaboration. So students are working together, encouraging each other, using this formative assessment tool. It's not just an individual experiment. And they're communicating with each other as they interact with each other and make comments on each other's posts. And so it's got several different things that go along with our 21st century learning. It's definitely a technological solution, and the key here is that the VR isn't just a neat add-on, it's essential. It allows students to be immersed in a geography that they wouldn't otherwise have been able to experience. It's not something that they would have